What is going on, my friends? Welcome back to the Lock DFS College Football Breakdown. I am your host, Christian Hardy. I am at ByHardy on Twitter. I am ByHardy on DraftKings. You can find me over there. We're going to be going over the Week 8 college football slate. It is for October 19th. I'm recording this on Friday, real late at night, real early in the morning. I'm going to be going over some of my favorite plays. I've written my article for the week, gotten some of my takes refined down. I'm going to be sharing some of my top ones with you guys, kind of picking and popping from my article. With that said, I wanted to mention, be sure to comment on this video if you enjoyed the video, if you're a college football DFS fan, if you like playing, if you like the picks, please let me know. Please drop a comment. Just leave a comment on your favorite play. Leave a comment on what you like about the videos, what you'd like to see, and I'll do that. And also wanted to mention, if you leave a comment, you'll have a chance to win a free season pass from locksdfs.com. We give away one every single Thursday night video that goes up on the channel, Thursday night showdown videos. Check those out. We'll announce one at the beginning of every Thursday night video. Check us out on locksdfs.com. Otherwise, you can do the All Sports Pass, which gets you access to NBA, NFL, college football. We also have our season pass. And then if you just want access to college football for a month, you can try us out there. Check us out, locksdfs.com. Pretty much I grade my players, give you guys some of my locks on the slate, and it's, I go through my strategy in terms of the slate on the breakdown article as well. Okay, let's go to my team from last week. This is in the $25 double up. Pretty much pulled out a pretty easy cash last week because of the low ownership on Etienne, while some of the other 7K guys busted. And then my cheap quarterback got there, and Ty Grom. He rushed for a long touchdown. That definitely worked out if you went with him. Obviously, I mentioned him very briefly on the video, but Jaden Daniels was the other guy I was considering down there for cheap. He also went off. So both those guys got there, and that's going to work for me on a week where I was considering those two guys. In my GPP lineups, I had some Jaden Daniels as well, and that went well. Hurts was a lock. Eno was a lock. He was lower owned than I thought he'd be. There were, like I said on the video, there were a lot of other 7K options. I just really locked onto Eno early in the week because of the matchup, because he gets the volume. Really, really loved Eno. I think a lot of people didn't go Eno also because they wanted to pay up at one of these wide receiver spots, which totally makes sense. And I have no issues with that. Deion Jackson is the chalkiest player on the entire slate. Don't really need to talk about him too much. Travis Etienne was 4%. I guess I understand it in terms of volume. A lot of the guys in college football want volume. Other players who aren't looking for volume are looking for game logs, and Etienne didn't have good game logs since week 1. So I guess it made sense that he was so low owned. I was definitely a little bit surprised to see it that low. David Bell he seemed like he had a higher upside than Anthrop. And that's pretty much how I ended up there. Obviously, we saw both them kind of do well, but Bell was the guy who really went off. And it was tough to play both, although both definitely got there. Colin Johnson was a lock for me in the video, 51%. I think that's fine because Colin Johnson's upside was sort of capped. He's coming off an injury. I actually don't think his upside was capped. Like, he definitely could have gotten a touchdown. He definitely could have broke one of these against a pretty bad OU defense. But, it was more of a grinded out type of game, although the score is, total was 51. The expected total, 61. The expected total was like 75. So it was a little bit slower than expected. Texas offense definitely got out to a slow start. So then Deshaunte Jones just appeared on us. He was very chalky. I have no issues with the play. He just didn't get targets. He just wasn't a big part of the offense. That's just, it happens. It's pretty random for Jones, who pretty much averages like 10 targets a game. But, it happens in college football. Sometimes you see some random things. So that was just kind of what happened. Again, no problem with the play. There's no issue with it to me. Just ended up with a 0. Luckily, my other players balled out and got me there into the cash. Could talk about some other lineups in there, but I'm just gonna move on to this week, which I'm very excited to talk about. I'm gonna move this over just a little bit. Okay, let's start again at the top with Jalen Hurts. Lock him in, play him. Jalen Hurts is like a lock. Hurts is still averaging about 290 yards passing per game. He is rushing for over 100 yards per game. He is combined over 4 touchdowns per game. He's on a 48 team total this week. Lincoln Riley offense should continue to run it up on teams to improve their status for the college football playoffs. Even in GPP, I think there's not really much validity to fading him. You could go with a guy like Joe Burrow, 8.5, but I think you got to play one of them. I think Burrow has doesn't have as high of a ceiling because he doesn't rush quite as much, but he still does rush, and he definitely has some upside. But I just think that in general, Hurts has a higher ceiling and a little bit of a higher floor. So I'll be going with Hurts there, especially when it's only a $500 discount. I don't really think there's much of a question there for me. tough to play both, so you're kind of looking down at a little bit cheaper quarterbacks. I like Kelly Bryant over Trevor Lawrence. That might be a little bit controversial. I think Lawrence will be popular again this week. He was popular among multiple sharps last week. I mean, they have a 42 team total or something like that. But Missouri is not far behind. Their team total is, I'm going to go ahead and tell you right now at the top, is 38.75. That is as of Wednesday night. So, I mean, Kelly just hasn't reached his upside yet. Still, to me, has not reached his upside. In closer games, he's produced well. 300 yards passing in this game, only gets one touchdown, but they scored 38 points. Definitely ran a little bit bad to only end up with one touchdown there. In these closer games, he rushes for 17 times in that game, throws for 2 touchdowns, loses a game by 6 here, goes for 27.9 DK points, rushes 11 times, throws for 400 yards. I just think that he has a game in him where he can rush for 100 and pass for 300. I totally think that's in the range of his outcomes. I don't think the same for Lawrence. I think definitely 4 touchdowns that he scored last week could definitely happen again. I don't think that he has 300 passing, 100 rushing upside. And I really do think that Bryant running the run pass option in a matchup as juicy as Vanderbilt, one of the worst defenses in the league. You see, that's the point rankings right there, but they are the worst FEI, which is Football Outsiders measurement of defensive efficiency. They're the worst on the slate, so on the main slate. So love Kelly Bryant this week. Like I said, I just think he has a massive upside. Going to be trying to pay for him at QB2, but I think another guy you can go pay down for is Garrett Schrader. Has some rushing upside. Mississippi State's going to run the ball as much as they can. A lot of that's going to go through Schrader. Mississippi State's going to be chasing LSU in this game. That's going to put the ball in the hands of Schrader. He was in somewhat of a quarterback competition with Tommy Stevens over the last few weeks, but when you're going to a big game with LSU, I think when you pick your quarterback pregame, that's going to be your guy. I think he plays 4 quarters. I have no concern about getting pulled, and I think he has a very, very high floor because of that rushing. I think he can get you 12 points rushing, and then whatever he does passing is great. And obviously, he has a little bit of upside over just that 60 rushing. LSU is not that good of a defense for the SEC. They're between 50 and 60 ranked in the FEI efficiency rating, so not too concerned about them. Mississippi State should be able to put up like 17 to 24 points in this game, somewhere around there. So Schroeder should be on the good end of 2 or 3 touchdowns, I think. Okay, moving on to running back. As of now, I'm just going to click him in because I really do like Kelly Bryant. It's kind of where you're at. You have 5.6K left, and then I'm another guy that I'm pretty much going to be locking on for the sake of this video is going to be Chuba Hubbard, which brings you down to 5.1K now. But unlike Jonathan Taylor last week, you can just fit Hubbard in with Jalen Hurts, which makes him a very, very good play. Besides that, Taylor had a really tough matchup last week, and we might have considered him if he was playing as the highest team total on the slate, which might never happen, to be honest with you. But yeah, Oklahoma State doesn't have the highest team total on the slate, but it is they're a home favorite. They have a 36 team total, and they're playing in the highest total game of the slate. Hubbard obviously has a massive share of his team's backfield. So Spencer Sanders will take some of it, some of that rushing production. They do run the run pass option a good amount. But I mean, just look at these touches for Chuba. 26, obviously a blowout there. 32, 39, 27, and 35. He just gets the ball in his hands so much that I really want to play him this week. Baylor is a decent defense. They've played pretty well this year. Believe they're like top 30 in defensive efficiency. Line yards, they're definitely like top half in terms of like the defensive line yards. But I just think that Chuba has such a clasp on his team's rushing share and his team's red zone opportunities that you just play him. It's a 36 team total. They should get in the end zone like 5 times. Chuba could easily score 3 of those, 4 of those. I would say he's a favorite to score 2 of them if they put up 5. So, yeah, like I love Chuba, and I think I'm going to be trying to jam him in this week. I do like Etienne again this week. They didn't move his price after a pretty good game last week. He's 7,000, but again, the volume is definitely a concern. And with Chuba in the lineup, I would probably rather just go down at running back, take some shots on some of these guys I'm going to talk about in a second, and pay up for one of these wide receivers who are in the same range as Etienne. So, but that said, like Etienne is in a really good spot here. Like Louisville has given up really big performances to A.J. Dillon, to Cam Akers, to the Wake Forest running backs in their last game. So, like, even if this game gets out of hand, Etienne's in line for, like, 15 to 18 touches. We know that he has a massive upside. You know, we saw him do it last year. We saw him do it in week 1 when he got 12 carries and rushed for 205 yards and 3 touchdowns, which is just insane. He absolutely can do that. He's someone I'm considering for cash, but I do think is shaded a little bit more towards GPP this week, just because if you're building with Hurts and Hubbard in cash, you can't pay it for Etienne. Okay, moving on to some of the more interesting running back situations. There are a lot this week and guys that I'll be considering in cash, and there's really no other lock at running back for me this week as of now. So it's going to be a lot of situations that we're watching. I'm going to start just in price-wise. I think this is the top in terms of price. Breece Hall ended up getting the massive workload for Iowa State last week. Luckily for us, in terms of we don't have to jam him in, DraftKings priced him pretty correctly. He's still in a pace-up spot as a away favorite on a 26 team total, I believe. And we also don't know for sure if he's going to be carrying the running back one workload. The coaches, although he is probably going to be he might get the star, or even if he doesn't get the star, he might get the lion's share. But they could switch it up again, and Johnny Lane could be the guy who gets the carries again. I mean, the coach hasn't committed to Hall being the running back one or anything like that. So it's a little bit of a risk there, but I do think that Hall should get 18 to 22 carries after getting that giant workload last week. I think Iowa State also controls that game pretty well. Tyler Beatty is an interesting stack with Kelly Bryant, but that's just a GPP play. Going down a little bit further, John Levette. So if we see Baylor running back, it's not Hasty, it's Ebner. He missed a lot of the game last week, and if he's still out, then I'm gonna be really, really interested in playing John Hasty. He got 17 carries last week after that Ebner injury. Or sorry, not Hasty. Gosh, I keep mixing these guys up. John Levette. I'm more interested in playing John Levette at 5.2K here. 17 carries last week. He doesn't have a role in the passing game, but he's going to be the guy they go to in the red zone. 3 touchdowns so far this year. Again, if we see, Jesus Christ, Tristan Ebner rolled out, I'm going to be pretty high on Levette and cash. Again, a pace-up spot. Even if I think this game stays pretty close. I think Baylor's able to run the ball against Oklahoma State's pretty bad defense. It's a pretty good spot if we see some workload open up for him. But if they're all active, then it's you can't really play any of them. For NC State, we still have running back Ricky Person out for them, which leaves us with Zonovan Knight and Jordan Houston. Zonovan Knight is right here. He's a preferred option. He's getting more of the workload, and he's also a guy who can really bust off explosive plays, but he just hasn't done it yet. This isn't an awesome matchup. Boston College is a middling defense. They're pretty good on defensive line yards. And the carries are split, so I'm not super high on either of these guys, and neither one has a very big passing workload, but NC State is a slight favorite. I have a little bit. I think I'd much prefer to get up to even Levette if again the injuries break the right way, and then Breece Hall even. But if you get the Breece Hall, Michael P. Ryan's here too. But and then probably my favorite in terms of point per dollar right now is Cam Martin, and I'm not sure about the upside we're seeing here with Cam Martin. I mean, there's on the depth chart for Auburn right now with the starting running back Jatavius Whitlow is out. Cam Martin is in a 4-way or split at the running back position with Malik Miller, Sean Shivers, and DJ Williams. They're all expected to get some sort of carries. I think that most of DJ Williams and Malik Miller's role will mostly be when the game is out of hand. I mean, we've only seen Cam Martin. He has 34 carries. And then we've seen Sean Shivers. Where is he at? We've seen Sean Shivers get 27 carries. Martin is the only one with touchdowns this year. He should be the guy they put in the red zone, inside the 10, goal line type stuff. That's why I like him more than anything. At the end of the day, there's a lot of carries just to be had here. Whitlow was rushing. Whitlow was rushing 18 times a game, 10, 18. So even if we're seeing Martin get 5 to 6 more touches, if he gets to 12 touches at 4.6K on this offense in this matchup against Arkansas, again, Arkansas is one of the best matchups on the slate. Auburn should dominate this game, and they should probably just run the ball as much as they can. They should be able to run the ball pretty easily here. I don't see why Cam Martin wouldn't be getting 12 to 14 touches here. Again, like I said, we haven't seen a game without Whitlow yet. We don't know how it's going to play out, but I do think that Martin leads the backfield here. He feels like the safest floor for sure. And probably probably the highest upside because of the touchdowns. I think I talked about all the running backs. That was a lot of running backs to talk about. I talked about Beatty, who's a good stack with Bryant because he has a passing role. I'm not going to go over these wide receivers. I talked about them a little more in depth in the article. But I will quickly, as of now, give you my point per dollar rankings out of these guys. Right now, my point per dollar rankings out of the 5 at the top, and Hodgins really isn't in consideration. It's a pretty tough matchup. So pretty much going to go Jefferson at 7.3K, getting more targets than Chase over the last 2 games with no Marshall. Next is going to be CeeDee Lamb, which obviously I think might be more popular than Jefferson. And honestly, in my lineup, works out a little bit better because you're going to be stacking with Hurts. I don't think I'm going to be stacking with Hurts in any other spot except for maybe Lamb. And then Chase, and then Wallace. Wallace just doesn't have the volume of the other guys. So it's pretty much going to be in that order for me. I could see you ranking Jefferson, Chase, and Lamb in any way. Although I think Jefferson and Lamb are the top 2 just because you can get Jefferson for cheaper than Chase, and he's been getting more targets. And he's also a bigger red zone body. I would guess he has a lot more red zone targets this year. Let me get a drink of water. Okay. Moving down from there, there's really no locks at wide receiver for me, but Seth Williams is my favorite in the mid-range here at 5.7K. Like I said about Auburn, though, I'm a little bit concerned that they could just run the ball a lot in this game, and that would really hinder Seth Williams' ability to hit an upside. And I don't know how much Arkansas is really going to be able to move the ball against Auburn, which means that they could really shut down the passing game early. That said, he definitely has a safe target share in this offense. He's a top red zone target in the passing game for Auburn, and he has over 25 targets over the last 2 weeks. 25 targets exactly over the last 2 weeks. 2 of those games being a 9 and a 10 target game. Arkansas negative in FEI defense. Just not a good defense. Auburn should be able to move the ball with ease. And I would note that in the only game that Auburn has dominated this year, Seth Williams did really go off in that game with 161 and 2 line against Mississippi State. And we could see a similar type of situation here where they just come out and run it up on Arkansas. It's definitely a situation where that could happen for Seth Williams. So I like the price here. Like I said, the clear wide receiver on this team. There are some other spots, like Imezi is a little bit interesting. He's playing at the back with quarterback. Red might see some more targets. The mid-range of wide receiver this week in general is really, really gross, which is why these cheap guys I'm going to talk about, if I can hit on one of these guys, is going to be awesome. Deshaunte Jones, again, 5.8. He moved up despite doing nothing last week, which is a little bit frustrating. If he was down at like 5.2 again, I'd definitely be smashing him again. But at 5.8, I don't think he's a good play because it's a pace up, and Texas Tech could push Iowa State to pass the ball a lot, and I have a ton of confidence in Brock Purdy. But I don't think he's like a smash, and I think Seth Williams right there is definitely really interesting. But it's a little bit of bias just based off one game for Deshaunte Jones. I think he's going to be back and be fine this week. Two kind of thin values I want to talk about real quick. One is going to be RJ Sneed. I saw Mr. Good Sense with RJ Sneed at the top of the $18 tournament last week. And he was a really good play. He was a sharp play. Obviously, he got near the ceiling game, really, when you talk about a guy like RJ Sneed with 14.4 points at 3.8K. It's a really, really good game for RJ Sneed. But this is that was the first game that they've played pace up. That was the first game that they've played that's been really really close and pace up, I should say. They just haven't had another game like that, and that is going to be the same situation here against Oklahoma State. Going to be pace up. It's going to be close. They're going to be probably even be trailing. They're projected to be trailing, which means that they could be throwing a lot again. Snead saw 8 targets last week in that game. He's seen consistent targets throughout the year, between usually 3 or 6 per week. And those are in games where they don't need to throw, or they're not getting play volume. This is a game where they're going to have play volume, and they're probably going to have to throw. I think Snead is another, again, a very, very solid value play. And just, what really brought that, I mean, I saw the 8 targets last week, of course, but also just what brought it to my attention was just seeing people with him in winning lineups last week. Super interesting to see that. Really good play that I just honestly glanced over last week. Juwan Johnson is one more, and he's definitely a little bit more thin for Oregon than RJ Sneed. Johnson, we have one sample size of him in an Oregon Ducks jersey. He transferred from Penn State I believe he's a graduate transfer. And he's just a really big red zone target. He is a big bodied wide receiver. He does not run very fast. He reminds me of like an Auden Tate type, where he can out physical you, and especially in the red zone, that's really valuable. He's 3.8K. He got 5 targets last week. Oregon is missing top wide receiver Jacob Breland for the rest of the year. So that should open up targets for Johnson, who, again, like I said, got 5 targets last week once Breland was out. So there are a few other guys, but I'm going to leave them for the lock sheet, for the breakdown. They're all in there. That's pretty much going to wrap it up for my video. I'm just going to click in like CeeDee Lamb here, 4.5K. Let's throw in like Snead. And here you go. There's a little bit of a core for you there. That's probably it's probably a little bit of a core. Obviously, you're struggling here, but Cam Martin's 4.6, so play around with it. Don't just play these guys. You can go down at Lamb, open up a little more salary, whatever it might be. Thank you guys all so much for watching, and I will see you guys back here next week. Oh, before I do that, again, leave a comment. You'll have a chance to win a preseason pass, and also let me know what you want to see. If you don't want to see a lineup review, tell me. Thank you guys so much for watching. Coming back, it means a lot. I like doing college football. I like talking to you guys about it. So leave a comment. Let me know who you guys like this week, who you guys are playing, how you guys did last week, whatever it might be. Again, it'll enter you to win that free season pass that we announced on Thursday. Check us out, locksdfs.com. And, okay, I think that's about it. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we'll see you guys back here next week. Peace.